blazing continent, serial 2. There were other Americans who fought for the great humane principles. In 1936, I filmed them with the Lincoln Battalion near Madrid. They fought against fascism for lofty principles. It was there that I filmed Hemingway, who said several years later that the Lincoln Battalion had held the Jarama Hills for 4.5 months, and the first Americans who had fallen there have long ago become part of Spanish soil. He said that those who became a worthy part of it, and who is more worthy than a soldier who has given his life for Spain, have won immortality.
Return all Vietnam.
And this is present-day Washington.
Given me by the power structure that has genocidal policies against non-white people.
Young Americans are throwing the medals and decorations they received in Vietnam on the steps of Capitol Hill. Who knows what they received the medals for? Medals that are now gnawing at their conscience. And who knows what made them see the light? Apparently, no one will again compel these men to kill defenseless civilians. This is something we would like to believe in. The United States is a highly developed country. It even has a conveyor line system for training aggressors. Here is one such conveyor line, Fort Gulick in the Panama Canal Zone. This is the secret training base of the 8th U.S. Special Forces Group. This is the famous School of Americas. Here, on a mass scale, they trained units for guerrilla warfare in Vietnam, and mainly for Latin America. This is where they train the conquistadors of the 20th century, and it is done through ideological indoctrination.
We are at war. It is a very unique and unusual war. It is a war which has required military tacticians to adopt a new and different mode of operation. Because in the unofficial wars, which today are fermenting in parts of South and Southeast Asia, the Middle East, Africa, and at least 4 countries in our own hemisphere, we must accept the fact that ideas are more important than bullets. The enemy, our enemy in this war, is more than armed and militant international communism. It is social, economic, and political injustice, which is the breeding ground for communism. As long as people are hungry...
Yes, the trainees of the School of Americas will have ample opportunity to become convinced how correct these words are. The peoples of Latin America will prove to them that the ideas of the national liberation struggle are stronger than bullets, bombs, and napalm. These are the notorious Green Berets, saboteurs and cutthroats, ready to carry out any assignment of the Central Intelligence Agency in any country. The chief task is to get it into the heads of these men that they are carrying out the great mission of struggling against international communism. He has been thoroughly brainwashed. He is a real example of a fighter against communism.
And if you don't fight it there, where are you going to fight it? Here in our own country? We don't want that.
mock village has been built for training purposes. This is where guerrillas are hiding. The major knows his job. This simulated skirmish is almost like the real thing. Camouflaged guerrillas heaving grenades. They must be interrogated and then, of course, shot. British journalists interviewed the commander of the Green Berets, General Edward Flanagan. He spoke vaguely about some kind of special mission of the Special Forces. However, he admitted proudly it was precisely his men who succeeded in tracking down Ernesto Che Guevara. This took place in the mountains of Bolivia. Professional American intelligence men, colonels and majors, were in charge of the operation. They have long ago become accustomed to bossing around in other people's countries. Not many photographs of Che Guevara have survived. Photographs taken in the guerrilla detachment in the mountains of Bolivia. 50,000 pesos reward will be given to anyone who delivers Che Guevara to the authorities, dead or alive. Better alive. U.S. Army Major Ralph Shelton was commander of the pursuit unit. They captured Che Guevara when he was already wounded in battle. And they killed him. It was with a feeling of profound grief that the communists of the whole world heard the news of the heroic death of Ernesto Che Guevara. A courageous revolutionary, a romanticist, a man of great purity of the soul. His whole life was a selfless struggle for the best ideals of humanity.
La tierra gira y gira, no dejará de girar, y los tiempos van cambiando, nadie lo puede evitar.
Che Guevara fought for the revolution in Latin American countries. He sincerely believed in his methods of struggle. But even where the oppressed peoples triumph using other methods, the name of Che Guevara, a communist and noble fighter for the revolution, is revered and loved by the people.
Nos hablan de democracia, de libertad de expresión, los mismos que masacraron al pueblo trabajador. No se aplican porque ahora la libertad empezó, la justicia para todos, sin clase ni condición. Mira que ya viene la revolución, para que se asustan será para mejor. Es el pueblo entero el que ya está gritando, ¡viva la revolución! Es el pueblo entero el que ya está gritando, ¡viva la revolución!
These workers have named their settlement in honor of Che Guevara. This is Santiago, the capital of Chile. First of all, the People's Unity Government showed concern for the children. These old buses have been used for improvised schools. Here, besides knowledge, the children receive the famous Chilean half-liter of milk. That was one of the first decrees of the new government. Still, there are very many slums all over the country. When we were shooting these sequences here, we were told that soon these people would move into new homes. This wardrobe will then stand in a modern new apartment with bath and gas. Everybody comes out for a voluntary workday. Even the president himself is here. It can't be said that the president of the republic is a master carpenter, but then Salvador Allende is a physician by profession. We asked him to say a few words for our film.
Deseo primeramente expresar que es para mí extraordinariamente grato.
First of all, I want to express my profound satisfaction that Soviet cinematographers have come to visit our country.
Que tengan una gran preocupación por el futuro.
Who are concerned about the future of Chile and Latin America.
De allí que piense la importancia que tendrá.
This therefore points to the significance of your film, which you have called The Blazing Continent.
¿Cómo veo yo?
How do I visualize the future of Chile and Latin America?
Aquí en Chile y por primera vez en la historia, los trabajadores.
Here in Chile, for the first time in its history, the working people have won a government for themselves through their people's parties, through their class parties, and through the parties of petty and middle bourgeoisie, so as to gain power through this government.
A lo largo de América Latina hay una profunda y honda expresión de protesta y de rebelión. Hay que derrotar la violencia que se expresa en la institución.
This power must do away with the brutality which still exists in our state system. We must do away with the bitterness which a mother and father experiences whose child has no roof over its head and who is deprived of medical care. We must do away with the bitterness experienced by a man who looks for a job and cannot find it. We must do away with brutality, which is manifest in chronic malnutrition, in the material and spiritual starvation of millions of Latin Americans. When I looked into the sad eyes of these people, I recalled Salvador Allende's words about the brutality that still existed on the continent. Who are these people? We filmed them in Atacama Desert. They call themselves perqueñeros, prospectors. They live in caves near long deserted mines. They mine copper ore by hand and sell it to small factories. work in pairs. If one man is buried under, the other can dig him out. In these God-forsaken places, it rains once in 100 years. And so, day in and day out, day after day, an endless fight for life. There are only a few of them left, lone prospectors of the desert, but they exist and keep on trudging with their heavy loads over the scorched earth like tragic phantoms of the past, miserable outcasts. These people, too, are outcasts, outcasts of another sort. These hippies held a rally in Venezuela, trying to escape the bourgeois world. This is an ugly and helpless form of protest. All their mottos vanish with the acrid smoke of pot. There are quite a few of them in Latin America. Some of them become tramps and criminals. Others perhaps give serious thought to their future. Tierra del Fuego, the southernmost tip of Chile, and the southernmost school in the world. Every morning, the children sing the Chilean national anthem. Fathers are oil workers. This oil has always belonged to Chile. They are proud that the U.S. monopolies never did succeed in grabbing Chile's oil. Now they will never get their hands on it. Here, we met brave people with plenty of endurance and stamina, people who are accustomed to grappling with the elements, whale hunters and seal hunters, engineers, sheep farmers, and the monuments here are different too, not conquerors or commanders. They are monuments to the courageous people who brave the cold winds of the plains, shepherds. The very edge of the world, Tierra del Fuego. But why is it called the Fiery Land? Legend has it that when Magellan's ships were passing through the strait, his seamen saw the flickering of mysterious fires on the barren shores. This struck fear and superstition in their hearts. But the fires are burning even today. There are huge deposits of natural gas deep below. The southernmost post office in the world is to be found in the southernmost settlement in the world, Puerto Williams, which is located right on the edge of the world. Further south lies the Antarctic. Just imagine how much a stamp collector would cherish a stamp canceled on the edge of the earth. The settlement is without a church, without a priest. There is only the postal agent who performs marriages, registers deaths and births. We were lucky to film the baptism of the world's southernmost born child, a citizen of Chile. The Strait of Magellan. glaciers are tens of thousands of years old. Even if a man had spent his whole life traveling, I still think he would be captured by the beauty of such scenes as this. After the cold silence of Tierra del Fuego, we were dazzled by the bright lights of Caracas at night, the capital of Venezuela.
El que llora cada hora al recordar cuando juntos nos miramos sin hablar por las calles de aquel viejo bulevar. Ya no soy el que tú amas, pero hoy otros labios ya te dan felicidad, mas en mí siempre serás la eternidad, caminando por el viejo bulevar. Chiquilina, chiquilina, el destino es así y te aleja y me deja. Chiquilina, sin tu amor.
The capitals of Latin American countries in this century grew swiftly on the investments of big business. The local bourgeoisie referred to Caracas as Latin America's Los Angeles. They really wanted to look like their northern neighbor. But when you find yourself in the midst of street crowds and traffic, you will most certainly not make a mistake. This is Latin America. Noisy, smiles everywhere, jostling crowds, and always joyous. In the quiet streets of Caracas and Lima, you can see the creations of 17th century architects. They bring to mind the period of rule by the Spanish crown. They seem to carry us to the quiet back streets of Seville and Granada. Corrida, bullfights. This magnificent spectacle, with its medieval rituals, has also been preserved. The greatest event of the year was a gala bullfight in Venezuela, featuring one of the greatest toreros of the century, the Spanish torero Luis Miguel Dominguin. He did not fight bulls for several years, but now he is in the arena once again. That was after he divorced film star Lucia Boza. After becoming his wife, she left the screen, and he quit bullfights. Having parted with Miguel, Lucia returned to the movies, and Dominguin once again picked up his sword. This is a dangerous bull, swift, nervous, and wide-set horns. A worthy opponent for Miguel. The first stage of the fight is to tease the bull and play with him. The torero does not participate in this. He studies the behavior of the beast. The bull charges the picador. And then the matador steps into battle. This could have ended in tragedy, but no wonder they have made legends about Dominguin's bravery. The fight continues. The last lunge, the coup de grace. The sword went in right up to the hilt. The bull does not yet know he is dying, but the torero is counting off the last seconds of his life. During those moments, another unforgettable corrida passed before my eyes. Barcelona in August of 1936, the first month of the Civil War in Spain. They raised their clenched fists over their heads as a sign of anti-fascism. As if making a circle of honor, the soldiers of the People's Militia marched to the front lines. Several days later, I filmed them in the trenches of Saragossa, where pitched battles were being fought those days. Those who did not understand Spain considered those corridas of the war days sheer madness. However, that was the heart and soul of Spain, the triumph of courage, gracefulness, and beauty.